Good day, all, and welcome to the Teledigm Pulse podcast, your Rural Health Matters resource. Hear from your colleagues and industry experts on rural health issues and innovative care models that make a difference for rural hospitals, providers, and communities.
Welcome to the Teledigm Pulse. Today, Shane, I'm going to turn the tables a little bit, and I'll be asking you a lot of the questions about Teledigm and its beginnings and history and kind of where we've been and where we might be going. So,
well, it sounds kind of scary, Andy. Turning the tables on me like that.
It's going to be a little different today, but I think we'll have some fun and we'll explore some interesting facts and kind of look to the future. So, kind of tell me about what started Teledigm Health. I know you and Dr. Bossert started the company. This is our 10th anniversary this year. Hard to believe it's been 10 years.
It is shocking, isn't it?
It is shocking.
10 years.
Yeah. But you guys kind of came together. And so tell me a little bit about that origin story.
That's interesting. So I was in administration in a 50-bed rural hospital in a town of about 4,000 people. And originally in that hospital, I was working in the emergency department and really just did I was sort of the genesis of this for me was number one. So I was a paramedic eons ago, and having been involved in transfers of individuals across cities and interstates and rural roads, et cetera, have a keen understanding of what goes on in the back of an ambulance and certainly how comfortable it is for the patient and the hardships caused to the family. And so it was really, we're done. I mean, it was that night, I was loading up the fourth or fifth patient of the night that we were transferring out. And I said, this is ridiculous. We got to be able to do something different about this. This is nuts. And we're on the verge of starting the EMR launch too. So this goes back a ways, of course, but
Yeah.
But nonetheless, really what happened was, we needed to develop something different. This wasn't going to work. We couldn't just keep transferring all these patients out. So a lot of metrics, a lot of numbers I ran just through old handwritten logbooks of just data, and really decided there's got to be a different way. And at the same time, I was doing some virtual consulting for a company that had this cool technology. And again, this goes back probably 13, 14 years ago. And there's a handful of guys, they were actually out of Iowa, that had some really cool technology, but they really didn't know what they were going to do with it. And, I was involved in considerations of what may be able to happen with that type of technology. And long story short, I said, God, I think we could do what we're doing virtually. Granted, because the boots on the ground hospice programs they're expensive, right? So, if you go back 12 years ago, 13 years ago, telehospice essentially didn't exist for the most part, at least how we do it today for certain. And when I started the hospice program in this rural hospital, I didn't know anything about hospital medicine at all. And so I was talking with my ED director that night, and I said, "Hey, do you know anybody who knows anything about hospitalist work?" He goes, "Yeah, there's a guy. He's in Lincoln. I can't remember his name. Broussard, Rosser, or something like that. I don't know. Brian, I think is his first name." So I reached out to him, and I said, "Hey, I'm Shane, and I'm interested in maybe bending your ear a little bit on hospitalist programs and how they work, how they function." And so we got together. We met over that, and long story short, year and a half later, he decided to run our hospitalist program in this hospital, and it's been an amazing. It was an amazing turnaround. That hospital has provided a dramatic impact for that hospital, and along the way, we developed a nice friendship. At the time, I was also coordinating the foundation golf tournament, and so he claims I conned him into supporting that. I don't agree with that. I mean, it was really I may have. It was very specific on what he had to sign up for, but nonetheless, we developed a great relationship, and a salt of the earth individual who actually started the original hospice program back in the early '90s in Lincoln, founded Inpatient Physician Associates, and I just really came to appreciate him, appreciate his style. We really hit it off and connected on multiple fronts. And after a handful of conversations, I pitched the concept to him at Runza, ironically enough, which we both would frequent while he was in town. Yeah, and maybe it was a little tepid in terms of the reception of the concept, but and furthermore, and talk with a lot of other individuals around about the concept. It was met with resistance. You need a urine drug screen. Are you nuts? That's not going to work. No, come on, then this isn't going to fly. And I think as an innovator, when you start to hear things like that, you think I'm onto something.
Yeah.
if everybody thinks I'm crazy, then
there must be something here.
There must be something here. And so I had a good gig and good pay and great benefits and lived 4 minutes from the hospital and said, yeah, enough of this. Let's go jump in and start a company. So
sure.
So that's how we got together.
Okay.
And it's been a heck of a ride. Over 10 years, for sure.
Yeah, I've been here for most of it, and it's been pretty incredible.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Teledigm's really kind of defied the odds as a startup company. Here we are 10 years later. How do you think we've done it to defy the odds of a startup? I mean, what's the stat? 5 years, 80% of them are gone, something like that.
Yeah, if you actually look at the numbers, and there's some variability in the data you're going to look at, but as a whole, for a company, the way we were built, designed, and funded out of the gate, the odds of us making it 10 years is less than 7%.
Yeah.
So it's not good.
No,
it's not good odds at all in
Yeah.
terms of how we put this together. But it's interesting as you look back, and we've stayed very consistent to our mission, our roots, and we haven't up to this point at all brought in any sort of private equity or venture capital ever up to this point. And I think it's really just genuine, just being genuine and focused on mission. And I think the other major factor with this too was, the technology companies tend to drive it from a technology perspective and a technology angle. And, me being a nurse and Dr. Bosser being a physician, we really took more of the clinical approach.
Yeah.
In other words, we wanted to build a model that was conducive to high-quality patient care, that accommodated the nurse, that made the nurse feel and embrace the nurse as part of a what I would argue is the linchpin in an acute care program.
Yep.
And then on the physician side of the equation, you had to deliver a great experience for your telemedicine physicians to be able to provide that service and give them confidence in providing the service. And so, even back then, the lion's share of the presentations we were doing weren't at all about the technology.
No.
It was about the clinical delivery strategy. Yep. And if you look at how most technology companies would have approached it, especially back then, it was all about the technology, the bells and whistles, the carts driving around the hospital and all this fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool, of
It's
course.
cool.
But at the end of the day, they're not the thing. They're not taking care of the patient.
Right.
So I would say that's a significant factor, but just overall resilience. I mean, you start a company and there's curveballs there, one after another. There's a lot of failures involved. You've been a part of a lot of those failures.
Yeah.
Not that they're your fault at all,
No.
but certainly there's been a lot of learning over that 10 years. And I think, it's interesting when we started talking with the health system about a potential venture on this, at least to start, one of the questions that came up is, well, how you have this vision, how are you going to get there? And I said, I have no idea. I said, we have this pro forma, but that kind of goes out the window, right? In a startup. And I said, we kind of see where we want to go. Right now, what's in front of us is just this huge forest.
Yeah.
And we just have to cut a trail through it somehow. And we're gonna start here and go in, and we're probably going to switch directions and go here. And I think it's interesting. I'm asked that quite a bit back, even 5-6 years ago. And if you look at a huge, gigantic organization like a huge health system or a university system, it's sort of like the Titanic. And the Titanic's probably a bad example.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so let's flip. Let's say it's a cruise ship.
Yep.
Okay. And I always use the analogy that, starting an operation like this with a cruise ship that needs to turn like a jet ski is problematic.
Yeah.
And so for us, being flexible, nimble, resilience across all those fronts has really contributed to the success overall.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's the team.
It is absolutely
Period.
this team.
We've just been so blessed. I pinch myself every day trying to figure out why are these people actually working with us? I don't quite get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how this all comes about, but we've been so blessed and so fortunate to have unbelievably talented individuals that want to join our team, and we've had essentially no turnover in 10 years, which is shocking.
Yeah.
It's a shocking stat, and we're just blessed on that front.
So did you ever get to the point where you thought, man, this is not working, and we gotta shut it off?
Yes and no. So to answer the first question is yes. Listen, there's a lot of sleepless nights for years on the initial start of this thing, and a lot of hours, of course. But certainly, there comes a point where you start second guessing yourself a little bit, going, I don't know if this is really going to fly. Is this really going to fly? Mm-hmm. There's so much. And again, when you're going into a project where this isn't like we were starting a business to sell commodities, right? This is a high touch, highly complex thing we were trying to move out. Very innovative, never really been done before. And here we are telling people this is going to be great. And you got all these people telling you you're completely crazy. You need to be admitted to the unit and all these factors. So you have these people waiting to pounce and just say, I told you so. Yep. You should have never left your other job, whatever. But I think as time goes on, as kind of an innovator and I suppose you would qualify it as a disruptor. Mm-hmm. Those things they're just blinders to those. I don't know why I'm weird that way, but I just resilience is just a key factor and determination that, listen, this has to happen. If we were going to be successful in helping sustain rural healthcare, which was our primary goal at the time, this had to work. Yeah. And we had to turn over every stone and find a way to make it work. And that's what we did. And again, Dr. Bossert has been phenomenal on that front. He's put up with a lot of guff from me over the years. I tell you what, I said, somebody asked me if he had hair before we started this, and I said, actually, no, he was largely gone by the time. So I was blamed for his hairline. I said that started before I got involved with him. But at any rate, it's been an amazing time. But in terms of shutting it off, no, I never thought of that. Yeah. Now, can my partner get to that point, or our other, strategic partners get to that point? But potentially. But they've all really, they've come along. They've embraced it, and they've hung in there. Yeah. Through this process, and it's been a heck of a ride.
It has been. So at what point did you realize, what? I think this is actually going to work. We're actually going to pull this off.
Well, there's still some days, Andy,
there are days.
that I wonder, are we, it's a great question. And I don't know that there was ever sort of this epiphany that, man, this is going to work. We're over the hump. And that's part of my issue in terms of I'm just never really satisfied. I'm always trying to, we can be better. We can do it better. We can continue to innovate. We continue to stay ahead of the mark. We continue to stay ahead of the game and provide, more efficient services to our partners, et cetera. So I've never really taken the time to step back and just say, oh, gosh, we did it. We're there. Yeah. So again, this environment's changing so fast. And so I would say that, I don't know. I can't point to one specific point in time where I just said, "Oh, boom, we're there." Yeah, we got this figured out. Because, man, in this space, it's you turn the corner, something's changed on you. Yeah, so it's definitely been an evolutionary process. And like I said, we've learned so much over the last 10 plus years that it's been interesting for sure.
For sure. How about surprises? What's really surprised you, as we progress through the last 10 years?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I would say, and I kind of mentioned this before, I'd say a significant surprise is the team and the people that have been willing to come on board with us and hang with us and go through, like, you were one of the first ones that was crazy enough, by the way, to join this mess. But at any rate, it's we've just been so blessed, and so I'm surprised that we've had the plethora of talent that is. I mean, they call us wanting to come work for us, just based on things that they've come across us. They know our culture, and they just want to be with us. And so that to me is a surprise in terms of the longevity and the retention of those individuals. So the culture here has been top notch. And I think in terms of the business side of the equation outside of the team, I would say that the patient acceptance of these services over the last 10 years has been remarkable. I think early on, one of the questions that we would often get was, oh gosh, we have a large Medicare population and they're not going to tolerate this.
They will not put up with this.
They will not put up with this. And where it really dawned on me the first time it was in our first launch site. I don't know if you remember this, but it was our first launch site. And we were doing a community engagement forum for their hospital appreciation days or something like that, but it was open to the community. And I had Dr. Bossard on the screen on the cart, on this mobile cart. And so this group of these, there's these 4 or 5 elderly ladies. They're all about 65, 70 years old, 75 years old. And they come walking into the I'm gonna be in trouble. I just call elderly 65. I'm gonna be in trouble here, but so it probably was older. Probably 70s, 80s, early 80s. But there was 2 of them to start, and I introduced them to Dr. Bossard on the screen, and they said, "Well, gosh, this is amazing. Where is he located?" Again, this is prior to Zoom, prior to video call. Nobody knew anything about that. That didn't even exist, right? I mean, FaceTime barely existed back then, and so. They said, "Hey, is he going to come back on the screen here at some point?" I said, "Well, yeah, I can make that happen." Yeah. She goes, "Why?" Or I asked her why. She goes, "Well, I'm going to go see if I can't get a couple of friends to come talk to him." I said, "All right, yeah, I'll make it happen." So she goes back to the coffee shop and brings back with her 4 of her cronies, and so there's 6. There's 6 of these women, and they were all hovered around talking to Dr. Bossard on the screen.
I remember that.
And it was that point where I said, I think this is going to work I mean, if they're going to sit here and have this conversation with him now, he easily could have done an exam if he needed to.
Yep.
So I said, I'm not so sure that the Medicare population is going to be problematic here. And as it turns out, it was spot on. I mean, it's been great. And at the end of the day, if the patient feels like they're getting high quality care and can stay locally, they're all in most cases.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I thought that was a surprise as well.
Yeah. So, what in the last 10 years, what's been the most fun experience you've had?
Oh, man. Well, there's been a lot of them. I would say in terms of fun or what I get the most enjoyment out of is just today I just did a presentation for the Missouri Hospital Association, and I think sharing these case studies of impact that we've made for rural hospitals and what they've accomplished as a collaborative relationship to make this happen is just shocking, and it's impressive. And frankly, it is. In the 2 situations I discussed today were full-blown turnarounds.
Exactly.
That made a dramatic impact for that hospital, for that community, and is subsequently sustaining rural health care in those communities. And so that's the most fun or enjoyment that I get out of it, of course. And then obviously there's the plethora of fun activities we have with the team off and on.
Yes.
But those are all great.
Cool. How about frustrating experiences the last?
Frustrating. Well, we've had just a few 100,000 of those over. Where do you want me to begin, Andy? That's a loaded question right there.
We might not have enough time for all those.
I don't think we do. I think I'll probably just stay a little bit more general, I suppose, on that front. When I think of frustration, as an innovator, a disruptor, one of I like to move fast. I like to come up with plans and designs, and let's move it. Let's go. We need to roll. Let's move.
Yep.
And dealing with huge bureaucratic organizations or partners that are maybe stagnant on that front or are less willing to do X, Y, and Z or commit resources to it. That's probably been the most frustrating part is where you know what you want to get accomplished, but you really can't. So that's been a frustrating part over the years. Not as much today, but certainly early on it was. And then probably another one that was kind of a combination of frustration and surprise was the sales cycle with a lot of these hospitals that essentially, again, when you're not selling commodities or widgets or devices, you're selling these comprehensive services. So it's a high touch scenario. And so unfortunately, the cycles are a lot longer in many cases where you're trying to bring a client along to help them out. And it just takes, we've had clients that we started talking to and it's taken them 3-4 years to sign, for example. So, though it's just learning that and the engagement process, and it just takes longer in a lot of instances. Yeah. So that's probably some of the most frustrating parts.
Yeah. I think for me, a combination of fun and frustrating was, when COVID hit, we had just gone live with a new platform 2 days before.
Right.
And it was like
literally
2 days before. Yeah. And it was like, okay, the world has now just completely flipped, and we've got to get hundreds of services out in a very short period of time. And it was incredibly satisfying to be able to do that and to answer those questions and to get those services out. But boy, that was an intense time.
Boy, it was. Boy, was it ever. That was definitely an intense time. And I think the beauty of that environment was, not only our team coming together, but our partners coming together, the clients coming together, and everybody really just trying to work to help everybody out as much as they possibly could. So it was fun on that aspect.
It was
for
fun
sure. A lot of hours.
A lot of hours.
Yep. But yeah, it was great on that front.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. All right, I'm going to go off script a little bit here. So
off script? Do we even have a script?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
You must have a script, and then you're going to go off your own script. How's that work?
I have an agenda.
Oh, you have? Oh, good. There's some good news.
So here, I'm thinking, what are some of your funniest memories over the last 10 years?
Oh gosh, funniest memories. Man, that's another one. I have boatloads of funniest memories. Let's see here. What would I come up with in terms of the funniest memories? I could think of maybe a couple off the top of my head. Early on, one of our office spots was at the West Campus in Lincoln, and they just stuck us in this 60 room or 40 room suite we only needed 2 rooms. There was just Dr. Bossard and I. We were the only 2. And he was still doing IPA stuff. So a lot of times it was just me up there and in this huge suite with nobody else in there. So a lot of times I'd have all the lights off for the most part. Well, Russ Gronwald popped in there, who was one of our on the original boards of one of the ventures. Yeah. And he at the time was a CFO for the health system. And I heard him calling down the hall at the time. We were conservative on trying to get this off the ground. So we did our own cleaning, our own garbage, our own.
I remember vacuuming the hallway.
Yes. So I was cleaning the toilet is what I was doing. Yeah. So I'm cleaning it, right? I'm in the bathroom and I got the stuff and I got the toilet bowl brush. I'm working the toilet over and I hear, Shane, are you in here? And I go, oh, yeah, give me just a second. So I come out of the bathroom. I'm holding this toilet bowl brush, and he looks at me just with this. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm cleaning the toilet. We have a meeting tomorrow, and I just want to make sure if they need to use it, it looks good. I mean, this is nobody else is using this building for crying out loud. So he's like, and he kind of looked at me like, you are crazy.
You are
I think, nuts. Yeah, you are a little nuts. So that was funny. another one. Let's see here. I think hiring you was a good story in that I remember, I was crazy, certainly, but you were kind of crazy to join us at that time.
A little bit. I had a pretty good gig going.
Yeah, you did. And I remember interviewing you, and I laid the job description in front of you. And I said, what do you think? He goes, I think this looks pretty good. And I said, well, here's the problem. It's going to look totally different in 6 months.
Yeah.
He goes,
and it did.
And you said, what's it going to look like? I said, I have no idea. And so you left, and I go, there's no way he's coming. He's like, this dude's nuts. But no, so I thought that was always an interesting story. And then one on I suppose early on with one of our CEOs, he's now retired, but this is kind of a funny story. So we had 0 services up and running just yet. And we had produced a grant that we thought might help us out with getting some of these services off the ground. So we had pitched this project to a hospital in Nebraska. Long story short, I went to meet him. He said he was ready to sign, get that off the ground. So I showed up in his office, and I walk into his office, and there's piles of papers everywhere. I mean, you have no idea where anything is in this place. I mean, there's stacks on his desk, and he goes, okay. So he sits down. He goes, okay, now what do I need to sign? I go, well, have you reviewed the contract? Yeah, it's in here somewhere. Let me find it. So he's searching around. So he finds it, and he pulls it out of a middle of this stack that's about 3 feet high, and he pulls it out because it was in a binder at the time.
Okay,
we put them out in binders. And so he opens it up, and I could tell the thing hadn't been opened. And he goes, okay, now where do I need to sign? And I said, well, there's 3 spots you need to sign. And keep in mind, we had 0 programs up and running, and I'm excited as all get. I'm thinking, we're finally going to get somebody signed. This is going to be great. I can't wait. And sure enough, he gets his pen out, and he's rifling through it. He goes, okay, sign right here. I said, yeah, right there. So he takes his pen and he puts his pen on the paper, and I reach across the desk and I hold his hand. I grabbed his hand and I said, you've read this, right? You've read through this agreement, right? You know what you're getting here, right? He goes, well, yeah. I said, and you're aware that the expenses and the costs? He goes, there's a cost for this program? I said, well, yes, there is. Well, I'm not signing this. So I left with no signed contract.
That might go on your frustration list.
Yeah, that was on my frustration list. Yeah, that was a nice trip that I could have avoided. But anyway, how about yourself?
Oh, I've got a couple. So early on, and we hadn't had very many services, Dr. Bossard and I were out. We were going to visit CEO in rural Nebraska. And we're driving around, and we get there a little early. So we think, well, we'll just explore, look around the area a little bit. We're on this gravel road, and we are driving by this ranch, and there's boots on all the fence posts. They're all painted bright red. So he says, you got to get out of the car. You got to get out of the car. I got to take your picture in front of this. So he takes my picture, and I don't remember if he texted it back to my wife or if I texted it back to her. Somehow she had seen it, and she didn't say a lot about it until just a couple years ago. She said, I didn't know what to think with that. She goes, you're just wandering around in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska. How long can you do this?
Yeah, right. Let's see here. We got a picture with a fence post with red boots on it, nonetheless.
Yeah. Yes. So that was a good one. And then I remember one of our early sites when it was just you and me doing support. And you were not going to be available one of those nights to be on site. So I went up and went on site. And the nurse that was on duty that night had been on vacation, so she hadn't been exposed to any of the training.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know this story.
So, I come in, introduce myself, talk about what I'm doing there. And, she says, what is this? I show her the cart. And she's like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Yes. So I get on the phone. I'm like, Shane, we got a problem. She says she is not doing this. But the funny thing is, after a little while, she was like one of our champions there.
Yeah, I remember that phone call. And I said, well, what's she saying? And you went through some explicitives involved, as I recall. I said, why don't you just pack up and bail out of there? And I'll see what I can do. I don't know. We'll see. So I went up there the following week in a tornado warning.
I remember
when I
that,
got
yes.
there, the tornado signs were going off, and I went and found her, and I said, "Listen, I'm a nurse. Let me know what you need help with. I'll move patients with you." So we actually moved the inpatients that they had down to the cafeteria, which was in the basement. And I actually provided her orientation and training in the cafeteria in the basement with
During a tornado.
During a tornado, and it was at that, and just chatting with her about the program and what we're trying to accomplish. And she said, "All right, I'm all in." And then to your point, she became our #1 champion.
Yeah.
It was really she wanted to come work with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a shocking turnaround. But yeah, she was a little bit of a challenge out of the gate.
All right. So inquiring minds do want to know, how many speeding tickets have you had over the last 10 years?
Oh, really? You have to go there? So who's writing these questions? That's what I want to know.
I had that one put in my ear.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, that's, I mean, technically confidential, but I suppose my answer to this would be, I feel it's important to get to know some law enforcement officers in various parts of the country, state,
Yep.
Just to chat with them and make sure that everything's going well. And yeah, man, I think that's important. I really do.
It is important.
I really do. As it turns out, I still have a very adequate driver's license, and I haven't lost all my points and that sort of thing. But
Well, that's good.
yeah.
But how many miles do you think you've traveled or hours you spent in the car over the last 10 years?
Oh gosh.
It's got to be tons.
I know it's just under 500,000 miles.
Yeah.
It's just under that. Somewhere between probably between 450 and 480-ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
480,000 miles.
I believe it.
And in terms of the hour, I don't know, Andy.
Yeah.
It's a boatload.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could do the math on
Yeah.
480,000 miles and time in the vehicle. But yeah, thankfully, with video conferencing and audio conferencing and of course, back 10 years ago, we do conference calls. You really don't do those anymore. But so I've conducted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meetings on the road. I'd pull over and do meetings on. Oh yeah,
Yep.
gosh,
Yep.
it was insane. It was insane, really. At the end of the day,
It was.
for sure.
So, in all the communities that we've served and that you visited, did you find any good golf courses?
Oh, golf courses. Well, that's an interesting question. Golf courses, yes, I found a handful of interesting golf courses and good golf courses. I think rather than the golf courses, some of the most entertaining interactions I've had has been with administrators or physicians with those communities and playing golf with them. In fact, I was a golf professional before I got into paramedicine. In fact, that's why I got into paramedicine. In the off season, I started to be a paramedic. I went to school for that. I'm not sure why at the time, but so this is a long time ago. So I was actually a teaching professional, and so over the years, I've just always enjoyed helping folks with their games. And yeah, so there's been a handful of instances where we've had some great interactions and enjoyed a couple rounds of golf here and there, and always enjoy that for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to some of the serious stuff. What are you most proud of that we've been able to do here at Teledigm?
Oh, when I think of most proud is definitely the team, unequivocally. I can't emphasize it enough. You can't do this by yourself. I mean, Lord knows we tried out of the gate. You can only work 24 hours a day for so long. But really, the team is just amazing. It's shocking, and we're just beyond blessed. So I'm extremely proud of the team that's been built, and the team members that have been part of building that team. And I'm just, again, shocked and blessed that why they want to come work with us.
Yeah.
It's surprising.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But.
We have a unique culture, and I think one of the things you touched on earlier was never really being satisfied, always looking for ways to make it better. And I think that's a kind of core that runs through the team.
For sure.
Everybody's really trying to look at, how can we do this better? How can we do this serve our customers better? How can we take care of patients better? Whether it's workflow or credentialing or whatever. It just seems like everybody's kind of on that same page. What can we do to make it better every day?
No, I agree. The execution's off the charts. The high excellence standards are off the charts, and their willingness to. At the end of the day, they believe in what we're doing.
Yeah,
I mean, they really do.
Yep.
And yes, the culture here is phenomenal, and we've just been blessed on that front. And
absolutely.
Without having to chase new positions around and new employees around with high turnover rates, it makes it a lot less stressful. It really does. But I would say that's what I'm most proud of. And then again, we've essentially had zero turnover in 10 years, which is shocking of the core teams. And I suppose another thing that I'm proud of is we have a 98% retention rate on our client base. And again, in this industry, it's very hard to do to achieve that kind of a retention.
Yeah.
And so we've had many, many customers have been with us for over 8 years. So yeah, that part is I think we've really done a great job on that front.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. So, we talked about the team a little bit. Everybody here does work really hard every day. Do you think we're making a difference?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And here's the deal. I think with our team, they see it. I mean, they know we're making a difference.
Yeah.
They know, hey, we gotta bring this up because this isn't right, or we can do it better, or the patient could do this, or we could do it at a lower cost this way, or listen, I think because it's you can only BS someone for so long.
Yeah.
I mean they can make their own decisions on what they feel when they feel they're making a difference. And I think our team, and we put a lot of emphasis on that in terms of really making sure everybody's in the know of exactly what we're accomplishing and what the outcomes have been.
Yeah.
But man, to see, we've blocked thousands and thousands of unnecessary transfers.
Oh yeah.
We've blocked probably hundreds of aeromedical flights. And if you think about just the cost associated with that, but the pain and the anxiety related to the families having to go to different communities is dramatic. And the downstream impact on those rural communities, ultimately we've produced, been a factor in them producing a healthier community.
Oh yeah.
A more robust rural healthcare system in their community. And we take a lot of pride in that. And so, yeah, I think it absolutely. Of course, I'm biased, of course, but it really does. I mean, absolutely. Unequivocally.
We've got the numbers to show it, though. One of my favorite things to do is we meet with sites periodically, and we show them the ROI and some of the good impact the facility has seen. And I'm looking at a service line where we're keeping 73% of the patients that are hitting that service line.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're delivering a really, really positive ROI. What's been for you the most rewarding aspect of starting this venture?
Gosh, the most rewarding. I would have to go back to the most rewarding aspect is seeing hospitals be successful with these programs. I mean, I sort of sounds like a broken record, I guess, but it never gets old. It never. One of my favorite things. In fact, Andy, I've been in hundreds of hospitals over the years in all kinds of different states throughout the U.S. I've spoken at hundreds of conferences. And I think that, one of the most, I suppose, in terms of rewarding things is when a CEO goes, you're really not even a vendor, you're a partner. You're our partner.
Yep.
And I've never, ever registered with any sort of vendor registration ever in any hospital. And I think that is, it just is a tribute, to Teledigm and a tribute to the team to just, the genuineness in how they're a partner. And then that's our goal, is to be a partner for our rural hospitals and for our large hospitals, our tertiary center partners, our health systems that want to help rural hospital partners. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. And I suppose that's probably what resonates with me the most.
Yeah. So where do you see us 5, 10 years from now? 10 years, we'll look back, look forward 10 years.
Well, it's funny, and the team gets a kick out of this because we're always moving. We're I think one of my friends said the moss doesn't grow underneath me. It's we're moving.
Yep.
There's places to go, and I think it's a very interesting time. It's a fast moving time, very fast pace. With the integration of various AI models, machine learning models, and the combination thereof. But I think for us, it is really trying to build efficiencies into the system and offer comprehensive services through a technical platform that accommodates various service components in a seamless fashion across all of our service lines into an organization that can help support not only the physician side of the equation, but through our nursing programs, through our sitting programs, through our ancillary programs, and in a way that is conducive and cost effective for those hospitals, both large and small, to be able to benefit from all of those different services, through a single entity, essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
So I suppose over the next 5 to 10 years, it's a matter of taking what we've built and massaging it, enhancing it, streamlining it, and working with technical partners and technology partners of various types to build that bridge and bring it all together.
Yeah.
So over the next 5 to 10 years, that's where I see it going. I see dramatic expansion across a lot of those fronts. And I do think, certainly post-pandemic, we have seen the conversations today are dramatically different than they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When you're meeting
You're
with
going to do what?
Okay. We're gonna call security right now and have you escorted out of the building versus because most of them today know they need or should be doing something.
Yes.
It's just trying to help them with developing some clarity around what they're trying to accomplish and seeing what we can do to help them out.
Yeah. Where to start, where to take it from there.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Well, you've been running pretty hard for the last 10, 15 years on this. What keeps you motivated?
Oh, the motivation is a couple of things. One, the team keeps me motivated. Working with such fantastic people, it makes it a lot easier, right? And people that'll challenge me, challenge everybody else is fantastic. But I think at the end of the day, the primary motivation is this is not done. This to your question early on when you said, did you really come to the realization, well, heck, this is going to work. We're done. We're in.
Right.
It's gold. We're golden.
Yeah.
And I would say no. No, we're not there yet. It's not there yet. And I think there is a way to get there. It's just not yet.
Yeah. It's just not yet.
It's just not yet. And so the question is, what does that look like? What's the journey look like to get there? And I think there's a lot of exciting developments on that front that I don't know that I'll ever be content saying we're there. Probably not.
Probably not.
But I will tell you that it's there's a lot to yet be accomplished on this front.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
All right. Well, Shane, thank you for letting me turn the tables a little bit today.
Yeah.
This has been a good discussion.
I'm interested in where you got some of these questions, Andy.
I might have fished around.
Yeah,
for some,
I'm sure. I'm sure you did. Yeah.
So,
well, no, I appreciate the turning the tables on this. I thought it's great, and it's always great to maybe get a little bit more inside the building. View on what goes on inside Teledigm Health. But I'm ecstatic that we've been here for 10 years, over 10 years, and gosh, looking forward to the next 5 to 10 years.
Yep, me too.
So,
all right,
awesome. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.
Yep.
We would like to thank you for joining us today. Our promise to you, the listener, you will be inspired or at a minimum find value in the information shared in this podcast. Please offer a comment or offer feedback so that we can improve this podcast and better meet your needs. Please remember to share this podcast with others that you feel may get value out of this by listening. And it's always helpful to subscribe to the podcast channel so that you're aware of future episodes and releases. In addition, if there is a rural health topic you would like to have covered on this podcast, please leave us a comment, or you can send an email to pulse@teledigmhealth.com That's pulse at Teledigm Health.com. For more information or general inquiries, please visit Teledigm Health.com.